Hey, 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 welcome back. Welcome back to the Psychic Soul Healer channel. My name is Laura. If you're new to the channel, I'm going to do a general message for the collective. Know that energy is fluid. Roles could be reversed. Just interpret the message as it best resonates with you. Just know on this channel and all my channels, I like to dive deep within the reading. So I do look at everything, but we take a lot more time to look at the spiritual blocks, the shadows, and see how they play it as karmic themes to help you understand why a person's doing what they're doing, why you're attracting who you're attracting into your life. What is the whole spiritual significance? After all, the universe brings us people to help create awareness for us of what we need healing in. It's those soul mates that tend to trigger us, right? Create awareness. Again, everything that the universe brings to us is what we need, just those past life. Karmic mates and soulmates, there's a lot of attraction. A lot of times we confuse these people as our life partner or, our twin flame. Where twin flame does not mean you're getting a healthy person either. A lot of times you're just getting someone that is ready to do the work. You're the one that's making them, kind of do the work by how you're holding yourself. So again, every single relationship is there to help you. All right. So if you want to know about the channel or anything that's important or relevant to the channel, you can find it in the description box. Okay. Now let's jump in and see what the underlying energy is. We always want to know what that is because people wear masks, they create facades and illusions and try to do things to make us think something where a lot of times that's not really the motivating factor. It's the mask. So again, the underlying energy is fear. And I feel like you've been in separation from someone for a long time. And now they're finally realizing that you disconnected. And guess what? They're not liking their life either. Feel like you're in a connection with somebody that thought that they had a lot of options, and what they see is they do not. And they were selfish, and they know that you're disgusted because on some level they betrayed you. Let's see what that betrayal was. So when you were dealing with them, they were dishonest. This person just had a lot of lies, deception, dishonesty. And I feel like where they were talking to other people, I feel like they really weren't even honest about what they did for a living or where they lived, something that was major about this person's life. They created an illusion that, they were more stable than they actually were. And then what would happen is every time you didn't like something that this person would say, or you would try to create that emotional intimacy, well, they would stonewall you. And they were coming in and out of your life. And so you finally had enough of the abandonment issues because this person was using intimate manipulation to manipulate you to get you to really not ask certain questions. But this person, I feel like, was hiding a lot from you. I think that they hid about their job. They hid about, what they truly wanted, whether it was a real relationship or just a fling. This person lied about everything. And this is why they couldn't let you get close. They knew that, you had assumptions about them, but they also had assumptions about you, assuming assuming that you were going to act a certain way. And then when you had boundaries, this person felt attacked, by the constant need for, like they'd say, for validation, where you're like, well, it was for them, it was the constant need to hide things about themselves. So you finally like reached your limit where you again disconnected because you're like, you don't talk to me whenever we need to have a deep conversation. You won't give me the time. You wave in and out of my life to make sure that I'm on the hook, but you don't really give to me. And whenever I, try to maintain any type of security within this relationship, it's like you stonewall me, you punish me. Again, where you don't want to be accountable. And that's really what it is. You had enough, and you had enough of their bad temper and their disrespect because you felt excluded really from their life, making it as if you're like all up in their energy, like they can't breathe, when really it's like, no, you feel forgotten about half the time because this person withdraws from you. So you felt like you were in a one-sided relationship. So we have to see, what does this person feel on a spiritual level? And then what are the blocks? Well, this person definitely feels your energy around them because, again, there is a very strong spiritual connection. And they wonder, are you thinking about them too? You know, this person's inner child is crying out right now, and they really need to, again, do the healing. And because they're triggered and old patterns are surfacing. And so right now, that's what's happening. It's like this person really isn't feeding the connection. They're like in their old patterns. And it's because I believe that you like had enough. So you disconnected and they didn't really expect that. So again, they went back to their old habits and their old habits because, again, you're expecting forgiveness, you're expecting them to be accountable. Instead, this person put themselves in competition with you, figuring, well, I'm going to hold out, I'm not going to give, because it's, again, they don't really you know want to like apologize. They don't want to be like transparent in what they want because they feel that that's going to interact with their self-image. So again, this person's imbalanced. They're imbalanced where they don't really like who they are. So they create the facade, and being in a relationship and apologizing, well, that goes against the illusion. This person is a use of contracts, and so, the karmic contract is, what pretty much a one-sided relationship, where they're never satisfied either. The karmic contract is almost about dominance, and once the person does that, then they don't really have a need for you except for what you can do for them, where this person takes risks. There's a lot of trust issues. Yes, there's a past life connection, but there's a part of you that you just got really angry from dealing with, and it brings out up your trauma too, where this person's living out their trauma response. So, this person inherited a lot of negative patterns just from, again, the environment they grew up with, and then they accumulated their own through having bad relationships, and then having like to pay for those bad relationships. So they have children, or they had acquired some sort of equity, then they lost it. It's like this person always has consequences because their trauma continues to play out. So this person tries to control the relationship instead of be in the relationship because they're stuck in a place of victimization. They're never present. They're always paranoid. The thing is that what they see is that you've had enough. They've had enough, where again, now they're getting impatient because things aren't changing. So this person really only knows how to come in, and it's all about the sex. And the thing is, you're not going to let them do that. So it, again, makes them feel inadequate. So what happens is that this person doesn't do anything. Again, they withdraw because that's the problem. The problem is that this person doesn't want to be transparent. They don't want to talk about their feelings. They don't really know what they want. They would like to have access to your energy, but as far as for what type of relationship, what I see here is just a one-sided relationship where this person's the authority because they have too much fear, because they need healing. And that healing wasn't just from past relationships. It's like from the way that they grew up, and they're too lazy. So that's why it's easier for them to manipulate. And that's why the connection would always leave you in a place of feeling empty and stressed out. And that's because it's like this person doesn't really, they need to heal themselves. This is where they are right now. This is what they can do. And we don't see them really wanting to come back because, again, coming back, they'd have to be different. And they don't want to do that. So they check out. They're still doing the same thing. So you have to say all relationships happen for a reason, regardless of the reason. We may not like the reason, but understand when you're getting a person like this, someone that's empty, someone that has, is just very childish, someone that, it's all about one-sided relationships that are always turbulent because, again, the person has a lot of hidden intentions. Then what happens is, of course, you would be completely consumed in them. And so Spirit is saying, you already saw them being controlling, and that controlling is all about controlling your energy because they get some sort of kick in that dominance. They don't want to see you move on. They don't want to miss their chance. They have too many love blocks. So you're in a relationship that but is completely one-sided, like I said. It's that they don't plan on coming back. They can't come back. And so, again, a relationship like that, where you would clearly be like, okay, no matter what cards we use, we get pretty much the same story. What is that? And Spirit says, well, you're a mirror of whom what comes into your life. That you have fragmentation. If you attract to someone that has that many love blocks, you have love blocks too. And so again, it could be the fear of being raised by someone. Again, you were raised by someone that was very controlling. And so when that happens, you're not allowed to like have your own identity. It's more or less like, again, it's more of attachment style. So we can have a narcissistic parent, we can have a very controlling parent, and so which is all about their way and no way. And there's that fear of having someone in our life that's like that, but we do love them, and so I believe that that trauma a lot of times does play out as, these one-sided relationships. But we look at the fragmentation, and what we see here is, again, that overwhelmed, again, growing up in an environment where there was no emotional support, because physical support to me is all about the emotional support where you were neglected. So that could be psychologically, it could be emotionally. Um, but in that, that trauma gave you a good connection to source, to spirit, because we can't run away. But what we do is we kind of check out, and we check out due to, like, again, the psychological and the emotional trauma. And that's because, again, our parent isn't there. So it's very frustrating, and life is a lot more frustrating than it needs to be, right? And so the joy of life is really sometimes unnecessarily missing. And it's why I say it that way is because the parent didn't make that happen. Is that the child, like a lot of times, is caught up in the fact that, when they're around that parent, they're so overwhelmed that they don't, again, feel confident in themselves. So they take that habit and those behaviorisms into like outside the home. And it could be like 5 years later, 10 years later, you're not even living in home, but you still have those habits and behaviorisms. And here it is again, it shows self-sabotage. Self-sabotage because of trauma. If you grew up where again you were neglected and emotionally didn't get, there will always be a fear that a person's not going to give you. Even if they are going to give you, there's just a fear because you already lived through that trauma. So it's the fear that it's going to happen again, is what Spirit says. So, you know, afraid to use your voice for again to ask for that love, and also not giving yourself that self-love. You have to say, why did you attract a person into your life that's so like, one-sided? They're one-sided. They're stuck in this energy that obviously made you feel not loved. Again, they emotionally didn't give you anything, brought up a lot of trauma, past trauma. But Spirit says you have a good connection to Source. You know how to clear yourself. You clear yourself by giving yourself that love, that self-love. When we think that we're not deserving of it, sorry, this sorry about that. Sorry, when we feel like we're not deserving of it, that's when we again have the self-sabotaging behaviorism. Remember, it's not like you didn't grow up without not getting it. You did. You know what that feels like. This is why you are overwhelmed because, it's first of all, it's very confusing to be connected to somebody that's supposed to love you, that's supposed to be a sense of comfort and they're not doing that. They're making you feel depleted. What happens is, it like I said, it robs the innocence of the connection. Like children put their parents on a pedestal. They love their parents. They think that their parents can do no wrong. And if your parent is like deliberately neglecting you and emotionally not creating that support, that environment, well, like I said, a child then is going to be focused on, why isn't my parent doing that? Let me try to make my parent do that because I want love. So when you're brought up in an environment where you're taught that love is conditional, that the only way that you're going to get love is to give of yourself, it becomes a survival mechanism. And the survival mechanism is that love is transactional. When love is not transactional, that's how that parent was. That parent, just emotionally wasn't that nurturing to you. But again, we look at the child self, and to a child self, it creates pain because the child thinks that they're being rejected. And so, when the child feels that they're being rejected, then they're always trying to be loved. They're always trying to like get love. And this person thought that, oh, well, I'm gonna play that game where I try to make you feel like you're less than, so you can give me more, when really, you know, thankfully that backfired because you saw through right through the illusion, that of who they are. That they're so imbalanced, that they're, anyone that has addictions, they're always escaping their problems. They're the avoidant. They were avoidant in the relationship with you, and then they're avoidant just within their life, and they don't really know how to fix it. So again, with all their procrastination and their back and forth, really made you aware of, again, like what needed to be healed with inside you, because they really didn't give you anything. Like I said, now I'm looking for a deck of cards. That's why my eyes are darting around all over the place. Okay. So we have to transmute that negative energy. Meaning we have to do something with that energy, because it's like you're not going to be with them. So if you're not going to be with them and they made you feel bad and they made you feel empty and they made you feel not loved, you know that you have to give yourself love. That was something that came out anyway, that you would have had to give yourself love. You have to make yourself feel worthy. You have to, again, be a truth speaker. Again, live your truth is what Spirit's saying. It's like, and, create that support, that is the support that you didn't have growing up. So we then look to the transmutation process, where Spirit says, well, first and foremost, first and foremost, form a strong connection to your higher self, the God part of self. Create an inner sanctuary, connect to the safe, sacred place within yourself, retreat and rejuvenate. Why again? Because to tap in, to make sure that you get divine guidance. You never want to lose that connection to the higher self. And because, life is stressful, being in a relationship can be stressful, where then we begin to feel what everybody else wants and not really what we want. So we want to be able to stay balanced, and we want to be able to handle things in our life through a balanced way, not in an emotional way, is what Spirit says. And again, now envision a future filled with potential and opportunities. It's about finding and seeing your genius, the God part of self. Because if you attracted this person into your life, spirit's like, you didn't obviously know your worth because, this person treated you like you weren't worth anything when really they knew the whole time that you were. They just, again, were lazy, don't want to do the work. It was about you alchemizing this energy. You alchemize again that pain and turn it into power by taking bold steps. Take big steps that push you out of your comfort zone. You can't heal in the same place that got you sick. So again, you want to join things. You want to, invest your energy in things that are going to bring you again limitless potential, again, that you like, you can create anything. You have a limit that bring out your limitless potential, I should say. And that happens when you take bold actions and you're alchemizing energy. It's like you're not spending time with this person, you're stepping into your true energy, your real energy, so that allows you to live authentically and boldly, unafraid to be yourself, to live out loud, that you show that you really are an empowered soul because of everything that you've gone through. You collected deep wisdom, you showed fierce strength. And now Spirit says this is about you now having unshakable faith and stepping into your path so that you can ascend life, to let go of who you were, to become who you truly are, is what Spirit is saying. That's why when you go through an experience like this, that's like, oh, this was a little nothing, that, well, it was nothing because you didn't participate. But if you would have karmically, it would have, they would have really hurt you. I feel like you participated for a little while, but they weren't able to destroy you. And that's the whole thing. It's like it's their karma now. It's their karma that they get to watch you go off and live a different life and understand they'll watch for a little while and then they'll be on to the next victim because that's what this person does. And understand that you're in a place of freedom. You realize that your wounds create doubt, resentment, and guilt. So you're working free to free yourself of this darkness, which again, they represented that darkness. Cast off negative thoughts, find peace in your heart, and discover the being of light that's within yourself. And that's what you do when you again are letting go of who you once were to become who you truly are, and that you're able to see beyond the illusion of again those wounds, because that's exactly what it was, and the illusion that this person wanted you to again perceive that you were a lot less than, where again you knew that you were much much more. And by walking into that energy, it helped you transform. So like I said, even the most insignificant relationships, and we could say people that just come into our life and they don't do anything, they don't bring anything to the table, we feel like it was a complete waste. Spirit says that's because the way that you handled it. It feels like, oh, they didn't do anything, but they could have did a lot of damage in your life. So instead, they're stuck holding the karma. They're the one that's stuck. Again, saying you're the one that got away, and you say, oh, they don't really care. Their ego will always care. So again, it shows them when someone gets away, it shows them all the fragmentation that they're holding on to, that all the parts of them that are wounded, that are not healed. And that's what they're terrified of, that other people are going to see. But when you're not with them and you're like, so you're showing them, I see it. So that's their karma because they already feel inadequate. They already live a shit life. They have to steal other people's energy to feel better about themselves. Not that the person didn't have feelings, but how much feelings can it really go if they haven't done the healing? It'll be like at the surface level lust. And so again, by not participating, you avoid the negative karma. And that's what you did, but it helped you transform. I'm going to leave that there. You let me know how you resonated, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.